Coming up next, it's the new Garfield Show on Boomerang.
There's more from everyone's favourite food-loving cat in the Garfield Show, coming up next on Boomerang.
As I established in my Garfield and Friends Season 1 review, I freaking love Garfield. However, despite this love, I never really watched the Garfield Show. Something about the show just never grabbed me, and the only times I ever reluctantly watched it were when there was nothing else on. Believe it or not, the show only just wrapped up last year. Well, technically the show hasn't finished yet, and there are claims that it's just on hiatus, but at this point it's been almost a year since Season 5 aired, so I'm pretty sure it's done now. The show initially went into development to coincide with the series' 30th anniversary back in 2008, and it was animated in France, with some episodes airing well in advance of the rest of the world in France because of this. Critically, the show's received a lot of middling reviews. Generally, from most critics, it's received scores around the 2.5 out of 5 stars mark, with a few skewing a little higher and a little lower. I never really gave the Garfield Show a fair chance back when it was airing, so it'll be interesting to go and give it a genuine chance now. The first thing you notice about the Garfield Show is that the animation is now in 3D compared to the 2D comic style from Garfield and Friends. I felt like this change from 2D to 3D meant the show lost a fair amount of its connection to the comics. I think the characters themselves look pretty good and are still faithful to the comic, but it's the settings and environments that take the biggest hit. In Garfield and Friends, John's house was identical to how it looked in the comics, while here it has almost nothing in common. Maybe I've just become a crotchety old man who can't accept change, but I loved that Garfield and Friends tried to make everything look similar to the comics. It's not even the switch to 3D's fault, because I feel like recreating the look of the comics in 3D would have actually been really cool. My biggest problem is that at times the quality in animation drops and the show actually looks like an average PS2 game at times. The animation never dips into being horrendously bad, but there are moments where it feels a little baffling that this was made in 2008. But as I am well aware of, a cartoon can still be great even if the animation isn't top notch. So, what is the actual substance and core of the show like? It's a bit of a mixed bag. To try and sum it up, the show definitely isn't bad, and it does get kinda entertaining at times, but it's just lacking something to push it over into being something I'd qualify as good. My initial feeling, and a feeling that stuck around for the entire duration of the season, is that the Garfield Show is lacking heart and soul. It's competently made, but it's lacking in all the areas that would make the show special or even hit the right notes for a Garfield fan like me. The show has a 22-minute runtime per episode, with each episode being broken up into two 11-minute segments. The first season is also 26 episodes long. This created another issue for me. The season is just too damn long. The writing team had to put together 52 segments for this first season, and many times it felt like they were completely out of ideas. I think this struggle for ideas is shown best in the episode where Liz's parents come to stay with John and the episode where Nermal comes to stay. These episodes use an almost identical plot, which actually shocked me at first. It feels like the writers' ideas were pushed to the absolute limit with the season length, and it's best shown in this repetition. Because of the length, they also run the gambit of typical television episodes such as Halloween and Christmas episodes, as well as things like a Freaky Friday type parody, which Garfield and Friends also did in its first season. In fact, there are quite a few episodes that felt similar to episodes that appeared on Garfield and Friends. Arguably my biggest gripe with the show is that a significant amount of episodes just don't feel like the Garfield I've come to know and love. The very first episode opens with a race of alien lasagna invading. The concept of this episode was weird to me, and it felt too out of left field for what I've known Garfield to be. The whole season is extremely heavy on featuring aliens or supernatural elements. Season 1 features roughly 10 episodes with alien or heavy sci-fi elements in them, and it makes the tone of the show radically different to the comics or the earlier show. Everything I've seen of Garfield has always been way more down to earth, and sure, there always have been outlandish moments, but nothing as crazy as aliens constantly invading or Garfield being transported to different dimensions. The worst thing about some of these out there episodes is that there are a number of times where the events of the episode are wiped away by saying it was all just a dream of Garfield, Odie, or John. This is just so freaking lazy, one of the laziest tropes in storytelling, and I was left rolling my eyes every time they did this. They also go to the classic, "Oh, hey there, I bet you're wondering how I got into this mess" trope, before flashing back to the start of the story to see how Garfield found himself in this situation way too many times. Doing it once as a sort of parody can be great, but doing it multiple times is just lazy. A lot of the time the writing is extremely lazy, even more so than Garfield. I also had a slight issue with one of the characters being maybe slightly racist. Garfield's next door neighbor is a Chihuahua who is given a very stereotypical Mexican voice. Nothing is wrong with this so far. However, you slowly learn that this character's only characteristic is that he likes to steal things. Seriously, he's the main antagonist of 2 or 3 episodes, and all of these episodes are solely focused on the character stealing things from Garfield. The fact that they made the Mexican character's only noticeable character trait that he loves being a thief just rubbed me the wrong way. Maybe I'm just being overly sensitive, but it all seemed kinda sketchy. On a much more positive note, I enjoyed the new actors for both Garfield and John. Right from the start I was a fan of Frank Welker's version of Garfield, but it took me a while to warm up to Wally Wingert's version of John. It was a little jarring at first, but it only took a few episodes before I'd adjusted and everything felt perfectly normal to me. Unfortunately, some of the other characters have horrendous voices. The worst offenders are the voices given to small children. They're like nails on a chalkboard for me, and I began to dread every episode where they'd introduce a kid who was going to play a crucial role. It's almost like they deliberately tried to make the voices as grating and annoying as possible. Maybe they did this as a way to get you to dislike the characters, but it ended up just making me mad at the show.
Cartoon Network welcomes its newest star, Garfield.
I feel like I should state again that I don't think the Garfield show is bad. It's just a meh show. It's not good, it's not bad, it just exists and really doesn't do much. I feel like the show would be way better if they went with 13 episodes instead of 26. Cut out all of the fat from the season, and if you just held on to the 13 best episodes from the season, I think you'd have something far more enjoyable. Instead, the bloated season is filled with forgettable episodes and lazy writing. I also never adjusted to the apparent increased focus on trying to include sci-fi elements into the show. It just doesn't feel like it fits to me, and it seemed like they completely missed the essence of what makes Garfield enjoyable.